I decided to spend the next 7 days in Roblox Forsaken. I'll be starting off on a brand new account with zero knowledge about the game. My goal is to try to get all 10 survivors in the game, along with the 5 killers in the game, including the newest one, Noli. To make this challenge harder, I'm going to be buying an expensive skin for each survivor in the game, and of course getting good at the game throughout the 7 days. Upon joining the first time, you start off with 300 cash, which you can't buy anything with. However, I finally started my first match trying to learn what the game is all about. I started with the iconic player, the Noob. So let's find out what he actually does. The Noob has exactly 3 different powers, with his first Bloxicola ability, which makes him just get speed 1 for the next 10 seconds, just to try to outrun the killer. The second ability is the Slate Skin Potion, which gives you a lot more health for a few seconds. You'll also take less damage, but you'll run really slow, so use it carefully. The third and final ability is the Ghost Burger, which just turns you invisible. While playing my first match, I of course didn't know what I was doing and getting attacked by the killer very easily, which then resulted to my death fairly quickly, and that was not a good start for me. If you didn't know, the survivor's goal is to try to complete different generators that will lower your time to finish the match much quicker. And finally completing these generators finally resulted to my first ever Forsaken win, and I definitely felt very happy about that. I then decided to play with the next free character named Elliot, who has fairly simple abilities. He has 2 different power-ups, with the first one being a pizza throw, which unfortunately does not heal you. His second ability is Rush Hour that will just give him speed 3 for the next few seconds, which will just outrun you the killer. Elliot also has a passive ability, so when a player is low on health, they will be marked on the map for you. But since I'm new at the game, I never even knew this in the first place. And I also died. The next game though, I was actually the killer, which meant it's time to learn a new player. This time, it's Jason, who has exactly 4 different abilities. His first ability, Slash, does 20 damage and also has a bleeding effect that does more damage to the player over time. His second ability is Beheaded, which also does 20 damage. His third ability is a combo attack on the player that will do 50 damage in total when finished, and this is definitely my favorite ability. And his final ability will just mark one nearby player where you can kill fairly easily. Playing as Jason as a new player isn't really beginner friendly, so you get bullied. After a few minutes of playing with the killer, I started to realize one thing you don't need to do, and that is to save your stamina, which is the most important thing to realize when you're playing the game. And after learning my mistake, I got my first kill in Forsaken, and I definitely felt proud of that. Then I got 2, then 3, then 4, but unfortunately I didn't win that round. But I did learn 3 different things as the killer, which is 1, to never spend your stamina freely, number 2 is don't waste all of your abilities at once, and number 3 is to analyze all your survivors and what attacks they do against you. One thing I also learned when playing as a survivor is to always stay with a friend or with more people. This way, the killer can only chase one person, and you can also support your teammates when they're getting chased. That also resulted into me winning most of the time. Oh, unless they're an OP killer. I finally played with the last free survivor in Forsaken, which is Shedlutsky. Shedlutsky actually has 2 different powers like Elliot. His first ability being a slash that stuns the killer for a few seconds and dealing 30 damage. His last ability is the fried chicken, which will heal him over time. It's quite a bit of health, but it does heal you pretty slowly. And the problem is you only have 2 fried chicken per match, so you have to use it very carefully. Playing as a survivor, I did misclick a lot of times, and I did die fairly easily. I then decided to switch back to Elliot because I love supporting my teammates, and it's definitely nice seeing them get healed back up. After playing a while, I got a win, and then I also got another win, and then I also got another. After playing for a while, I finally got enough money to buy a new survivor, which was Chance. Chance is definitely a very chancy person. Chance has exactly 1 ability, but 3 locked abilities, with his first ability being a coin flip that will give you a 50% chance of getting 2 abilities, and the other 50% giving you a weakness effect. That weakness effect can also be stacked if you get unlucky multiple times, but if you do get a stack of 3, you will unlock a final ability, which that final ability will be able to remove all your weakness effect, but reset all your abilities again. If you have a stack of 3 on your shoot ability, you'll have a 90% chance of shooting the killer for 50 damage and stunning them for a few seconds. it also has a 5% chance of doing nothing, and then it also has a 5% chance of just blowing itself up. Chance's final ability is called Reroll, and it'll give you a chance of getting you a lot more health, but it can make you lose a lot more health. So you'll need to realize that Chance is a very risky person to play. I managed to get my first ever shot for the killer, but the gun did explode in my face, and that was just very bad luck for me. I tried to shoot a killer again, but the gun literally blew up in my face, which was absolutely horrifying to see. One thing I haven't really used that much in day 1 was the ability to shift lock, and that can definitely help you aim much better for when you're trying to stun the killer. In this moment, you can see that I tried to aim for the killer, but I didn't know what I was aiming at, which is why I definitely need shift lock, and I did also misclick in this part. But I was also then the killer for the second time. After learning my mistakes after being the killer for the first time, I started using my stamina very wisely now, which then resulted into me being able to eliminate the survivor fairly easy, which is why I managed to get another survivor, and then a third survivor, a fourth, and finally the last one, getting me my first ever kill win in Forsaken. One thing I also started to realize was the ability to gain a lot of cash as a killer. Using abilities also resulted into more money, which is why I kept using my abilities and killing all the survivors that I can to try to get the most money out of the single round, which as you can see definitely helped a lot, getting me my second killer in the game being Cool Kid. This character is definitely a fun character to play. Cool Kid has exactly 4 different abilities, with his first being a slash that does 26.5 damage, his second ability that does 15 damage and marks the player when getting hit by the ability. His third ability will lunge at the player, dealing 30 damage, and has a burning effect on the player. His final ability will spawn 2 different pizza deliverers that will go for the player and explode on them, killing them on impact. I can't say that Cool Kid is definitely a more versatile character than Jason, and you can use him very creatively, and he's definitely a pretty easy character to learn when playing for the first time. It is day 2 and I actually started off as the killer. I started to use shift lock where I was able to hit the players much more easier, and that definitely helped where I'm aiming at. This had also helped me predict where the players are walking and being able to hit players from even far away, which definitely helped improve my gameplay. And just on day 2, I was able to use my abilities very creatively and being able to understand what each survivor does, so I was able to kill survivors really easily and extend the time to kill others. With this, I was also able to use pizza delivery tactics to try to find different survivors, and that also helped. And so after learning a lot of new things as a killer, I was able to win that round. Back to being Chance, however, I was able to shoot the killer for the first time, and I of course felt very proud of that moment. I was so happy that I was able to shoot the killer the second time. Heading back to the lobby, I had enough money to buy Tav, and he's definitely very interesting and one of my favorite survivors because he actually has interesting abilities. Tav actually has 2 different abilities, with his first one being a tripwire, which can be extended pretty far unless it's not hitting anything else. And when being stepped on from the killer, it will actually slow them down and mark them for each player on the map. The second ability is a subspace trip mine, which when thrown will slowly turn invisible for the killer, and when getting close by the killer, it will explode in its face, giving it subspace and helpless 1 for a few seconds. You can definitely do a lot of cool things with this character. However, you need to be very careful from where you're going and stay with at least 1 support to try to help you when you're in trouble. And also be careful to be close to your own trip mines because you can also explode it on yourself, giving yourself the same effects. Heading back as a killer, I was able to kill more survivors, earning myself a lot more money and being able to buy survivors much faster before the week even ends. But it will get much more difficult the closer we get to day 7, which is going to be interesting. I was then able to buy the next survivor, being Builderman for 500. Builderman is a lot like Elliot, and he's another support character in the game, so he's already one of the GOATs. And no, I'm not talking about the other Builderman. Builderman has 2 different abilities, which his first one is a sentry, which takes around 6 or 7 seconds to build. So what it does is when the killer is in range or around the circle around the sentry, it will start shooting at it and it will give it slowness 1 whenever it's near it. However, the killer can destroy the sentry, which is unfortunate. The next ability is a dispenser, which also takes 6 or 7 seconds to build, and it will heal players. One cool thing to note is when the killer destroys one of your buildings, you will get paid for whatever it gets destroyed by. One thing to also note is when you're building dispensers, you always want to build them where killers don't usually go by and where survivors usually hide, which can keep your team alive much longer. And when you're building sentries, you always want to build them where killers usually walk by, but not close to where the point where you will get hit mid-building, because if you get hit, you have a higher chance of dying much faster. After saving up for a while, I managed to buy my next killer, being John Doe. John Doe is also one of the most expensive things I bought in this challenge so far. Before I talk about John Doe, I do want to talk about Dusakar because I forgot to record. So let's quickly talk about him before talking about John Doe. Dusakar has two different abilities. His first one being a plasma beam. When shooting at a killer, it will give him slowness for a few seconds. And when shooting it at a player, it will give him a quick speed boost for a few seconds. His second ability is a spawn protection, which will protect the player from any damage dealt by the killer by a lot for a few seconds. Dusakar is definitely a really hard character to play as because you have to use a lot of aiming skills, and that is something I don't have for this game. So Dusakar isn't really my character. But let's actually talk about John Doe, and this guy is definitely interesting. John Doe has exactly 4 different abilities, which his first one being a slash that does 28 damage. John Doe also has a passive ability, which will give him a corrupted trail, and when stepped on, the player will deal damage and will get a corruption effect. His second ability are his corrupted spikes. When touched by it, you will deal 24 damage and get highlighted for a few seconds. His third ability is digital footprint, which will leave a big corruption spot on the floor, and when the player steps on it, it will give him corruption effect and will highlight for the enemy. John Doe's final ability will be able to make him see everyone on the map and highlight them for a few seconds. In my opinion, John Doe is definitely one of those characters that definitely needs skill to use. Visually, he's definitely a great character to use, but he's definitely one of those characters I would probably just use 1 or twice just to get used to him and know what his abilities do. But other than that, John Doe is definitely a really cool killer, but not my type. Later on, I was also able to buy a new survivor, 2-Time for 500. 2-Time is definitely the sneakiest character in the game and reminds me a lot like Taff. 2-Time has 3 different abilities, with his first one being a slash that just slows the killer down and does not stun them. His second ability is being able to crouch, which will give him invisibility and undetectable effects, but the killer can still kind of see you, which is kind of unfortunate. And the final ability will make you put a ritual on the floor wherever you put it, and basically how it works is every time you stab the killer, it will increase a bar on the side called ablation. Once this bar is filled and you are killed, you'll basically respawn for a second life, but it also can happen when you're the last player standing, so you always want to put your ritual down first.
Let's make this quick.
Starting off day 3, I did buy a new survivor, being Guest 1137. Guest has exactly 2 different abilities, which one of them being locked. His first ability is a block that will unlock you the punch ability that will stun the killer for 20 damage. And the final ability is a charge push that will just push the killer back a few studs. And as you can see, I am not good at Guest at the moment. After playing with Guest for a few rounds, I actually managed to get my first parry at the killer, and I felt proud about that. I thought I was able to hit the killer once again, but I did get a little cocky, getting myself a lot of damage dealt, and I wasn't doing good. I eventually started switching to other survivors to try to get better and understand what their abilities do, and that actually did work. I also got my new killer, being 1x, 1x, 1x1, and for the sake of this video, I'll just call him 1x. 1x actually has 5 abilities. His slash ability does 20 damage and also poisons the player for the next few seconds. His second ability throws a big sword at the player, dealing 35 damage and also poisons them. His third ability does 10 damage but will stun lock the player until they remove all the pop-ups on their screen, so you have to be quick. His fourth ability is an unstable eye, which will mark everyone on the map but give you blindness 3 for a few seconds. 1x's final ability will revive every player you killed and work for you until they kill all the players left. After playing for a pretty long time, I managed to get my first expensive skin for Chance called Flipnote for 2,000 points, which was definitely a lot. The design is not good, but I only bought it for the voice lines. I also started learning a lot of different combos with 1x like Entanglement, Unstable Eye, and Mass Infection if I am able to use it still. And after learning all of this, I am able to say that this is definitely one of my favorite characters of all time in Forsaken. Just because he is a very fun and very soothing character to play most of the time, I can definitely see why he's the most expensive killer in the game and the most expensive character in Forsaken. I bought a new character and I forgot to record it. But this is 007N7. He has 3 different abilities, with his first one being teleportation that teleports you to the farthest spawn point. This can benefit you or not if the killer is close. His second ability is a cloning ability, which you can use to try to trick the killer very easily. And his third ability is just how you want the clone to move during the round. I also bought my second expensive skin for a survivor, being Elliot, costing 1,000 points. This skin is a reference to one of the popular games, Just Shapes and Beats, so you know I had to buy it. If I wanted to get as much cash as I can during the 7 days, I needed to play good as the killer, since it gives you the most. And just like that, I was able to buy the Flash skin for $1,200, and that was definitely amazing. The skin itself, of course, is a plush, but the actual trip mine is also a plush. You'll also hear this when getting damaged, which is a very nice touch. Then I was able to match with Flash, buying the plushie car for $1,700. A little more expensive, but it definitely looks so much better, with the staff actually glowing red this time instead of blue, just to change a little bit of the details for the skin for being expensive. I was also able to buy a new skin for Builderman called Retro Builderman, which basically just turns everything about your character very old, like building dispensers at a low FPS, which is definitely a nice touch for old Roblox. And when placing buildings in places you can't, it'll give you the old Roblox message, which covers your entire screen. I was also able to buy a new skin for Guest, which of course changes color each time you play a new round, and that was a really nice detail. Starting off day 5, I was able to buy a new skin for 007N7 called Idiot for 800 points. As far as I know, this skin has no Easter eggs or effects, but all I know is that this skin is pretty cool, just really bland in my opinion. Back to 1X, however, I started to become a master at him, and these past few days have been awesome with him. These past few days, I've been able to learn a lot more mechanics with 1X, and I was able to learn how to aim more precisely with him, being able to hit players much more easier and still knock them for a few seconds, being able to get the elimination much faster, and that felt satisfying. Without this killer, I don't think I would have gotten the skins that I've already gotten yesterday fairly quickly, but he definitely helped me get those skins very fast. As you can see, my favorite ability from this guy is definitely stun locking the players, and obviously that helps a lot trying to catch up to them if you're low on stamina, and being able to do stuff like this. And that felt very satisfying. And of course, everyone has their favorite killer, but honestly, 1X is definitely top 1 for me. I was able to buy a new skin for Shedlesky called Louis Gamer Cool 23 for 900. This skin has no details again, but all I do know is that he does have 5 reasons on why he hates noobs. I was also able to buy a new skin for 2-time called Snake for also 900. This skin is definitely not a reference to anything, and as far as I know, I don't think the skin has any effects, but it is definitely a really cool skin for 2 times. Also, in this exact round, I was able to learn a lot more things with him, like backstabbing the killer much more smoothly, and that I felt very proud of again. I was also able to sneak by the killer and make him pass by me, and this definitely proves that he's a sneaky character. And honestly, 2-time in my opinion is very underrated, and you could do a lot of cool things with him.
The first day of the end of your lives.
It's almost time for day 7, but before we get there, I needed to start picking up the pace with getting more cash, which is why I started to go all out as the killer once again. And this was taking me to the right path to try to complete this challenge fairly quickly without any struggles at the very end. Which is why I started going for players much more faster, so I can able to get everyone before the time even ends. One thing I always try to do as the killer is to always try to go for the people and survivors that can attack and stun right back at you. And this is so you consistently don't try to lose that much time. You always want to go for characters like Guest, Chance, and Shedletsky's because they can always attack back at you, and then try to get to supports at the very end since they don't really have that much tactics to go against you. And finally, I was able to buy the noob cosplay for $1,000 and finish all of my expensive survivor skins, and that I felt proud of. I changed my head to a big oof head to try to see how it would look like, and of course it worked. It literally looks just like the things you wear, but why is my head blue? Alright, let's finish off strong talking about the last killer in the game, Noli, because he is the newest character. Noli has exactly 4 different abilities, with his first being a slash doing exactly 25 damage. His second ability is a Void Rush, which basically rams at the player, and you can do it again if you manage to do it again, dealing 50 damage in total, which is a lot. The third ability is a Void Star, and when thrown at a player, it will suck it to the middle from where it was thrown at. And the final ability is being able to teleport to any generator on the map and mark the nearby player, which can definitely be used for creative strategies. Now, Noli is a very tedious character, and he's a very hard character to control. Now, I am gonna say Noli isn't really my type of character, but you can definitely say a lot of cool stuff about this character. And I don't want to end this video with not getting one with Noli, so we're going to change that now. I was able to chase this character, dealing a lot of damage, and honestly getting better at him, like throwing the Void Stars and sucking them to the middle. And I was able to get the first tab, and now there was one. The last character was actually AFK, which left me to get the free win at the very end. And honestly, I can definitely say Noli is those type of characters that does require a little learning, but at the end of the day, I did enjoy playing as Noli and everyone else. But the real important thing is the stats. What did they actually look like at the very end? I actually got 18 hours in the game with 87 wins and 72 losses as a survivor, and 31 wins and 20 losses as the killer, and getting 230 kills in total as the killer. And finally, I was able to earn more than 20,000 cash and spend absolutely 0 Robux. And I can prove that I was a free-to-play player the entire time. And that's it. I was able to complete my goals of unlocking all survivors, all the killers, and get one expensive skin for each survivor in the game. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing and show support for this video, because this video of course did take a while. But of course, thank you all for watching.